Is the mic on? Yeah. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. And first of all, I really want to thank AWF for this invitation. It's not only a great honor to stand here and be allowed to talk to you, but it's also another opportunity to come to London again and see all your history and culture. And it was 2 great days I combined with this opportunity here. So with this, could I please get the PowerPoint? With this, I want first, shortly, to introduce you to this organization that I'm the president. I have been the president since 2007. It's already an aging organization. It's more than 30 years old. In 1985, the German Association of Practicing Veterinarians felt that veterinarians should do something more in the area of animal welfare than just being veterinarians. So they started with a small group as a subsection of the Association of Practicing Veterinarians. But soon, 2 or 3 years later, they found out, well, being a subsection of the practicing veterinarians is not easy, since the group's ideas and suggestions were always a little bit ahead of the rest of the practicing veterinarians. So they decided to become independent. So this German Veterinary Association for Animal Welfare is completely independent. We have a loose cooperation with the Bundestierärztekammer, with this something like the Royal College of Veterinary Surgeons, but completely independent. So since 30 years, we don't have to ask permission or forgiveness for what we say. And this makes us small. We have now 1,300 members out of 35,000 veterinarians in Germany. But we are regarded as an association of real specialists in animal welfare. So at least politicians take us seriously, and we are asked about new laws and so on. It's a little bit different in the public. In the public, the big animal welfare associations in Germany are louder and stronger, if you will so. But anyway, we are always invited to round tables in Berlin to the Ministry of Agriculture and so on. So our major products are guidelines that we write about all the areas in animal welfare that are not well described by laws and regulations, the gray areas, or even areas that the law doesn't touch at all. So these more than 150 guidelines, and every year we issue between 3 and 10 position papers on topical welfare problems. These guidelines they have no normative power. There are no regulations at all. However, the courts all over Germany are happy that they have these guidelines, since they take them very often as anticipated expert opinions in court. So they can decide, well, there's no legal instruction, but take serious what the TVT says. So insofar, our influence is, I would say, especially in the judicial world and in the state veterinary offices, they use all these guidelines for their decisions when they do controls. So with this, I think I should shift to the real topic, and I want to talk about the changing human-animal relationship the shortcomings of animal welfare acts and regulations, and then the Ethics-Codex that the Germans wrote only 3 years ago, and then a little bit how this Ethics-Codex influences society or veterinarians. And so it's a little bit describing the rights and the wrongs of veterinary actions. Well, you can talk 3.5 hours about the change of human-animal relationship, so I have to do it in half a minute or so. So let me start that when we started walking on 2 legs, the animal-human relationship was very simple. There was only one question: will I be the prey or will the animal be the prey? Run away or run after? So this was pretty easy and not complicated. But then animal domestication started, religion started to use animals in their myths, and then a little bit later, Descartes came and said, well, animals are machines, and we humans, we are able to think, and we can and should use them. So vivisection came into the picture, and then a lot of people thought about this, but it is, I bow my head, it was a British philosopher who really hit the knot. He, Jeremy Bentham, wrote in his Principles of Morals and Legislation, this thick a book. And on one page is a little footnote. And there he says, it doesn't matter whether animals can think or speak or whatever. The only thing that is important is that they can feel like we. They are sentient. And that's the basis of our today's thinking about animals. And so no wonder that the UK was the first country where the Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals was founded in 1824. Germany followed, and it was 2 priests, Protestant priests, that founded 2 societies for the protection of animals. And the development went on, and in many countries we have animal welfare acts and lots of regulations. And the question is, with all these regulations, why then do we have so much complaints about animal welfare shortcomings? Well, there are 3 major things, or two major things that explain this. The first is that we all are very good in describing how to protect animals against pain, suffering, injuries, and so on. So it's more or less a pathocentric view. But we are not too good in really precisely explaining what we have to provide the animals that they have a good life. That's a very debatable issue, and therefore we always are pretty weak in describing this. And another thing is that most people forget in the daily life, laws and regulations can always only be the minimum standard. And the minimum standard is by far not what a lot of people think is right. So therefore, it's a very simple drawing, but what we can do with laws and in democracy is we can, time by time, we can raise the demands or the regulations, the standards. But it takes time. We have to discuss it in the parliament, and then there are discussions. And while we do this, the expectations of the society are rising, and even faster than we can rise the standards of the laws and regulations. So there is a gap. Every now and then it's very wide, but even when we have raised our standards in the regulations, the expectations have already run away. So we always run behind the expectations, and that means there's a gap that needs to be breached. And we think that veterinarians should be a major group that breaches this gap. To be frank, the public does not see always the veterinarians as the leading group to do this. So I think there's room for improvement for the veterinary profession to do more and to be recognized as being an engine in animal welfare. There's another issue that we can see in the shorter history. Let's start with after World War II. There was a 100% consensus that we should have better food, more food, and animal protein was seen as a sign, an indicator for affluence. So we developed the small-scale, low productive agriculture into a quite efficient economic branch. But the more we did this, the more the opinions about what is right and what is wrong go apart. More affluence, the more people are there that say, hey, we don't need to eat animals. And others say, well, exporting meat and products is increasing our affluence, our wealth. So there's a need to find somewhere in the middle a consensus that at least a majority can agree upon. And that's where we are now. We are right now here, we have hot debates, and I know that it's the same in the UK, everywhere in the European countries. A hot debate about food animals and how we shall treat them and how their life quality is to be seen. So, to summarize this, why a codex? Why did we decide to write ourselves a codex? Well, the human-animal relationship has become more and more complex and complicated, which a lot of room for debates and different opinions, and especially in the food animals, but also for other animals. Think of horses. Is polo okay or not, and so on. So there's by far no consensus about this. I really recommend you a very nice book written by Hal Herzog. He is a human psychologist, but he wrote the book Some We Love, Some We Eat, Some We Fear. And he's the subtitle of this book is Why is it so difficult to think straight about animals? And this is an area that we have to find our way and to bring our arms around. And the next is that laws and regulations are constantly falling behind the societal expectations. That's almost a natural law. It cannot be changed. We can fill the gap, and the veterinary community is expected to use its knowledge and skills to guide animal owners, animal users, and in the direction of animal protection, of animal welfare. And our profession is pretty much diverse, so we not always fulfill these expectations. So this was the reason that we thought, well, an oath is fine. The Hippocratic Oath in human medicine is still working, but it was updated in only lately. But an oath, you have one, the Americans have one, the Germans have none. Many other European countries don't have an oath when they graduate from school. An oath is very good, but it's life is too complicated to just go along with be good. If we would tell our kids only be good, without trying to explain in the magnitude of different situations what is good and what is wrong and what is right, it would not help too much. So we have to do this. The more complicated life becomes, the more we need some guidance to find the right way. This was the reason that in 2012, the highest body of the German veterinary profession, it's in German the Deutsche Tierärztetag, that means the German Veterinary Day. It's delegates from all walks of veterinary life that come every 4 years together and make major decisions. And there was the decision, we need an ethics-Codex. Since we need something that describes what should be done above the minimum standard of the laws. And there was a working group that was asked to develop this, and I got the honor to be the leading author and keeping this group together. What we really did is we started, well, start with something that is already there. The Swiss have a very nice ethical guidance for veterinarians. And we took this and we developed our codex along this, but it became bigger and bigger, and so we wrote a draft. The draft was sent to all veterinarians, and everybody could comment. We did this 5 times, so that in the end, after 2.5 years, we had a text that we could say we can offer it to the next German Veterinary Day. And indeed, in 2015, the vast majority of the delegates voted to implement this as an official document of the veterinary profession in Germany. Our codex becomes so long that we decided, oh no, that's wrong. We need a codex with just 2 pages with the basics and a text with recommendations how to implement, how to apply these basics in the many fields of veterinary actions. And by chance, the TVT I explained to you has 11 working groups, and we developed these recommendations along these groups. And the German Veterinary Ethics Code, it is in your bags. So I only want to explain you the preamble. The Ethics Code explains the self-commitment of German veterinarians to acknowledge the inherent value of animals and to accept the profession's ethical responsibilities beyond legal demands. The major thing is that it is a self-commitment. It's not veterinarians are to do this and this. This would be another rule of rules imposed on them. But we say, we veterinarians pledge, we veterinarians commit ourselves to do this. So you have the codex in your bag, and I just 2 questions, and then I'm done. First is, has it a normative power? Properly speaking, no. It's not any legal power. But the more veterinarians accept these and adopt these as their own thinking and their commitment, the more it gets a normative power. And the last question is, some veterinarians think that it might be more spoon-feeding for veterinarians. But we say, no. It's not an imposed rules from outside. We describe ourselves, how we see us as veterinarians. The Codex supports veterinarians when their decisions are questioned. You can always take it and say, look here, this is what we have agreed upon. And the Codex informs the public, that's how we do our work in an ethical way. With this, I thank you very much.